Chip, I read an article recently that said that anxiety is the most commonly diagnosed psychiatric condition. Tell us about the equation that explains why we're so anxious now.
It is. It's fascinating how it's a contagious emotion as well. All emotions are contagious. If I come to you and I smile at you, you tend to smile back. So there's a lot of reasons for that. And so what we need to know is that in an organization, if emotions are contagious, the predominant emotions within an organization are going to spread fast. And anxiety is one of the most predominant, it is the most predominant emotion, and it's actually one of the more contagious emotions. So why is that? Well, there's two components that actually influence anxiety. It's what you don't know, which is uncertainty, and what you can't control, which is powerlessness. So the equation is anxiety equals uncertainty times powerlessness. And the reason it's a times as opposed to a plus is because the combination of the two, according to social scientists, actually when you have both uncertainty and powerlessness, the combination of the two is combustible. It creates an effect where it's not a plus, it's a times. So what do you do with that? I mean, this is one of my favorite equations, and from all of the emails I've gotten from around the world since the book came out, this is actually, I think, the equation that has had the biggest and most profound impact on people. So what I would recommend a person do is what I call the anxiety balance sheet. And here's how it works. Think of the thing that's making you anxious. And you know, it could be related to work, could be related to home. Just imagine what it is. Then create 4 columns. In the first column, write down, what is it that I do know about this thing that's making me anxious? I'll use a classic example. I think I'm going to get laid off at work. Okay. I mean, for your Renaissance people, that's unlikely. These are the leaders of the company. But there are a lot of people in their companies who may have that worry.
Maybe I think I'm going to lose a client.
Or I'm going to lose a client.
Customer.
Okay, I'm going to lose a customer. Okay, what do I know? What don't I know? Okay, that's the first 2 columns. Third column is what can I influence? And the fourth column is what can't I influence? All right, let's use the customer. Okay, I'm losing this client, this customer. Here's some things I do know about them. Here's some things I don't know about them. Here's some things I can influence, and here's some things I can't influence. Once you put it on paper, here's the magic. 75% of us find that we have more things in columns 1 and 3, which are the assets, what do I know, and what can I influence, than in columns 2 and 4. So for 75% of us, this exercise gives us some confidence of saying, wow, I feel anxious about this, but actually there are things that make me feel less worried. I feel more certain and more powerful than I thought I would. Second thing to do is to look at column 2. Column 2 is what don't I know? Well, the question is, who does know that? You, with your client or customer, you might be able to say to the person who's the decision maker there, it's awkward to ask this question, but why don't you ask it? Are you actually looking at our competitors right now? Are you actually considering moving on? Now you can say it however you want, but you could be that direct. Just like you could be that direct with your spouse and saying, are you having an affair? Mm-hmm. Or you could be that direct with your boss and saying, am I going to be fired?
Or more like a classic customer satisfaction question of, would you recommend us to others? Are you happy with our service? Just trying to find out what...
Net Promoter Score, yeah.
Yes.
NPS. So once you sort of say, wow, that's something I don't know, who does know it, you can go out and ask that person. You know, the truth is there's a great study that was done years ago where they asked people, if you had a choice between getting an electric shock now that's twice as painful or getting an electric shock sometime in the next 24 hours that's half as painful, most of us choose the shock now, even though it's twice as painful, because we want to get it over with and we don't want the psychological pain. The physical pain is less painful than the psychological pain of just wondering about it. So what does that say to us as leaders? It says if we have bad news, let's package it and get it out there as quickly as possible before it becomes an anxiety contagious machine in the company. And in this example we've used with a client and customer, it means, you know, maybe anxiety producing to ask the question, such a direct question. You know, are you thinking about leaving? Are you talking to competitors? Are you happy with where we are? But getting the answer to that question is going to help you understand what you need to do next.
Which increases your degree of certainty,
Yeah.
at least you know where you stand.
If you increase your
Even if it's bad news, at least you know where you stand.
And this is why the maths are fun for those people who like the math. Once your certainty goes up a lot, you may have still a lot of powerlessness, but the certainty going up, it's at times there, means that actually the anxiety goes down some, a moderate amount. Even if there's some bad news in terms of what you're hearing here, for me, if I were the person who found out that a client or customer is in fact looking and they are moving on, and I figured that out, then I'd start really looking at that column 4. What is it that I can't influence? Well, maybe I need to re-question that. I have column 3, here's the things I can influence, let's spend more time on that. But I have some things in column 4 where I think I don't have power or influence. How can we actually reframe that such that there's some ways we can actually impact this relationship such that they're going to stay? So at the end of the day, anxiety has so much to do with feeling like you don't have the information you need and you don't have the power. And so it's all about getting the information and the power, and the anxiety goes away. It doesn't necessarily mean your life gets better, but it actually reduces your anxiety. And in the context of business, reducing anxiety usually means you're going to perform better.
So what I was fascinated about is that our general level of anxiety, at least as evidenced by diagnoses, seems to be increasing. Which one of the two elements do you think might be driving that?
I think it's uncertainty.